Hello my friends, great to have you here again at Carter on Bike. As you might already know, in this series I'm touring Schleswig-Holstein, the northernmost federal state of Germany. If you have followed this series, you know that so far I've done a bit of the Ox Trail, went along the Kiel Canal and cycled up the North Sea coast. So far I have managed to get to Husum, from where I plan to take you all the way north to Niebüll now. As you may remember from the episodes 4 and 6, I've already made it up to Niebüll by train, where I'm staying at a guest house, from where I'm taking day trips. The plan for today was to take the train to Husum and cycle up to Niebüll. When I look outside the window of my cozy room, I see rain. That alone is bad enough, but looking at the weather chart, I see wind, a lot of wind. Cycling from Husum back to Niebüll would mean to face very heavy winds. So I decide on the spur of the moment to make a feast of it, reverse the tour and ride with tailwind. And while I have my breakfast, even the rain stops. However, on the first 13 kilometers on my way to the coast, the wind is going to hit me from the side. But that's better than riding directly into it. Good morning. I don't know if you can hear me. I've just set out from Niebüll, heading towards the coast, and there's a very strong wind out here. But let me tell you here and now, when I eventually set out to edit this video, I found out, to my and probably also your disappointment, that most of the material filmed during the afternoon of this day was missing. This time I lost the data not because of faulty equipment, but due to my own stupidity. I deleted the images by mistake as I needed my SD cards to go on another trip and formatted the cards, one of them still holding material of this trip. So I will simply have to improvise on the second half of this episode and tell you my story of how in the end I got to Husum, which is a true pity as it got quite dramatic. Anyway, here we go towards the coast through the windswept flatlands of northern Friesland. Up to approximately 360 years ago, where I'm standing now, was tideland, in other words mudflats and possibly some salt meadows. I had already mentioned the big storm surge occurring in the first half of the 17th century in the previous episode. So, in 1681, also here a new sea protection dike was constructed to gain this land for good. And some 200 years after that, originally wooden constructions related to water protection were replaced by stone or cement constructions like this little bridge here, built in 1878. See, you don't necessarily need to be in cities to admire historic buildings. By the time I reach Nordseeküstenradweg, even the weather begins to look more promising. Have a look at this amazing slate roof and tower of this church named St. Gallus. Originally, there was a wooden church located on a mound on one of these tiny mudflat islands, in German referred to as Hallig. But by 1825, Hallig-Gamsbüll itself had largely disappeared into the sea, leaving only the church. They had even replaced it with a stone church, but very soon it had to be demolished again as it was in danger of collapsing due to erosion of the mound surrounded by the sea. Then in 1874 Schleswig-Holstein joined Prussia, which also meant a reorganization of church communities. And so finally this location was chosen to build this pretty church here in 1891. Alright, rolling through this land that had been gained from the sea, finally I'm now approaching the outer sea protection dike. Alongside it, we find the North Sea cycle route, and we learn that this is nature protection area. The wind is still going strong, but it's now in my favor. Riding along here, sheltered by the sea dike, and having the wind from behind makes such a difference. By the way, this was the self-closing type of a sheep gate. Occasionally there's a gate that needs to be closed manually again. So here's proof. I closed the sheep gate again. You won't be able to hear what I say at all. Well, I explained that the wind had pushed me all the way down there, and now I had to come up here to go down the other side, and there in the distance we can see Dagebüll already. Okay, let's go. We are now approaching Dagebüll. Dagebüll is a little seaside resort, more of the quiet type. It has a selection of holiday homes to rent, or you can stay at a hotel. And it looks like they are building even more accommodations, as apparently this place is gaining popularity. Last year, when I came past here, they started to clear some ground. This year the new building is already quite advanced. Further down towards the sea you will find a few restaurants or cafes, which are always good for a stop to have a little snack. Now then, Dagebüll is a seaside resort which can also be reached by train from Niebüll. The train connects to the ferry terminal of Dagebüll, from where you can cross over to the larger North Sea islands Föhr and Amrum, both also prime holiday destinations. Depending on whether the tide is out or in, you can go and explore the mudflats, or when there is enough water, you can be brave and bathe in the sea. I prefer just to take a little stroll down the promenade, where we find those pretty beach huts. As you can see, the wind is still super strong, so I continue to ride with heavy tailwind. I have the wind behind me for a change. But soon I have to stop again. What once used to be a little lighthouse has been converted into a guest house. It even comes with a whirlpool, it says. So if you're looking for something super special, here it is, I guess. I imagine that the views from up there must be amazing. Nearby is the terminal of a very strange-looking little railway. It connects the mainland with a couple of Hallig islands, Öland and Langenäs. Its construction totally amazes me. It looks so wobbly and uneven, and it must have been underwater countless times. It's not possible to just buy a ticket and go across. Only the islanders are allowed to use this railway to cross the mudflats. However, on those Hallig Islands there are a few accommodations which you can book. And only if you have a booking, they will come and pick you up, and then you can come for a ride in this strange vehicle. And from here on, my dears, I can only tell you my story, as I managed to delete most of my picture material. Well, pushed by the wind, flying south through a truly stunning flat landscape, right by the sea, you can get a glimpse of further Hallig Islands, tiny mounds sticking out of the Wadden Sea. Some of them appear to have only a couple of houses on them. Had I mentioned that the cycle route passes through a nature protection area? Well, it does, and you can watch all kinds of seabirds. And there are sheep, of course, and sheep turds. At Lutmoorziel, by the birdwatching station, they provide taps with running water and brushes to wash your shoes, and to a degree it also works for the bike. I enjoyed myself so much that I never looked behind. But in the afternoon, the strong wind had quickly moved a heavy rain front along. By the time I noticed it, it was too late. I tried to outride it, but it was faster and got me. In the middle of nowhere, of course. Already quite wet, I tried to shelter under a bird-watching platform, but the rain kept pushing in from the side. So, already soaked wet, I continued to Husum and caught a train back to Niebüll. I remember, while waiting for my train, I was recording, wringing out my gloves, but the file is lost. My bike and me kind of flooded the train, with a puddle forming. And people passing by being wary as they probably thought the toilet had leaked. Back in Niebüll, I quickly changed into something dry and rode out again, still in the rain, to a Greek restaurant where I got a well-deserved meal. Okay, my dears, sorry about the lost picture material of a truly stunning section. I guess I have to come back here at some point and explore more of this area. For now, in the next episode, I will take you from Niebüll to the posh and famous island of Sylt. Sylt might well be a place that comes with a certain reputation, but it's also a place that I know quite well, as during my childhood I've spent many summers on that island. It is a super beautiful place, and visiting Sylt is always an experience. Let alone getting there. Come along, it's going to be wonderful. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and, if you want, also subscribe to my channel. As always, thanks for watching. See you soon.